so that they stop banning schools.
The funding of universities and TVETs,
Yeah.
When President William Ruto came into office,
Yes.
there was a lot of misinformation, disinformation, and there are those people who didn't understand how the new funding model would work. And we have seen that over the years, the process has smoothened. We no longer see students complaining about their their loans and bursaries. In the new fiscal year, and with this amount that has been allocated to the education sector, do you think that the teething problems that were there are going to be a thing of the past?
Thank you. Like any other new program, there is bound to have problems with implementation. But I believe that the funding model for the TVETs and the universities is the best ever. Mm-hmm. The example here is this, sir. That, we had people like David Ochieng, who, by the grace of God, is now a member of parliament, has capacity. So how would I be paying $1 million shillings per year for my kid in a school in Nairobi, and then when they go to the university, I'm demanding to pay 16,000 shillings? And there are many of us who, our kids are paying $500,000 shillings in high school, 1 million shillings in high school. And then the university are now saying we should pay 20,000 shillings for tuition. It's just not fair. And that's why the funding model that we prepared ensures that those who have capacity to pay higher, those who have no capacity to pay nothing where necessary. I just want to say one, now that there's the resources for funding of higher education, first of all, let's release the money to the universities on time. Number two, let's make it easier for the students to access these resources. And number three, let's ensure that those who don't have the means testing system to be such a way that those who the band puts at a level where they are not, there's a system for appeal that works very fast, that ensures that no one is missing out. You would probably know this, that part of time is that some children are put in bands that they didn't belong, with the result that some of them actually dropped out of school. Some of them who had scored A's decided not to go to the university because the funding model had placed them wrongly. And so, as you said, as the system goes on being perfected, I'm sure it's going to be a good system that works for all of us. But above all, you would know that we put enough resources in this budget that will go to the universities direct to ensure that they keep our children in school.
All right. Yeah. And then there is 175.5 billion shillings allocation to health. Universal health coverage is one of the areas that the government is really trying to push. But there have also been issues to do with SHA. Some complaining that it has teething problems as well. Some saying that it does not work at all. But there are those who say that SHA works. As a member of parliament, what is your assessment, and what are some of the areas that perhaps this budget is going to cure?
Well, first of all, on SHA, I believe there's some resistance to change that Kenyans should understand that SHA isn't and wasn't meant to be a temporary measure. SHA is anchored in the law. It wasn't a policy proposal. SHA is going to be here with us, and therefore we must work with it and ensure that it works and helps wananchi access health services. So anybody who thinks that SHA is going to go away tomorrow or that it's going to be scrapped should forget about it. SHA is a good system. The way the law has been worked on is very good. We just need to work on its implementation. Number two, the ministry concerned and the stakeholders concerned must address corruption in the health sector. Because the biggest issue in the health sector during the NHIF times, and some of it is now seeping into the SHA system, is corruption, a lack of accountability, wanting to benefit from where we've not sown. And so we keep asking those who are concerned, can we ensure that SHA is run without corruption? Number three, the ministry concerned must keep creating awareness, must keep making the public aware of the benefits of the new healthcare structure, from the level 1 hospital, dispensary, health center, through level 4 to the referral system. The awareness creation is going to be very important so that people know, where am I going for this kind of treatment? Where am I going to go for this kind of treatment? Where do I need a referral? Where do I need a letter for me to move from this hospital to the next? And what are the benefits attendant to that? In most cases where people are complaining, it's lack of awareness. And so awareness is going to be very important. Number three, and I say this knowing what's going on, let's keep pushing more money to the counties.
Yes.
Let's keep pushing more money to the county hospitals. Let's build the structures, because most of the ailments we're dealing with are actually primary healthcare issues. They're actually things that do not require someone to come from the coast or come from Nyanza to Nairobi to Kenyan National Hospital. There are things that could be sorted out at level 4 hospitals that are being run by the counties. So we need to work with the counties more, build the capacity more, and above all, make Kenyans know that you can actually get proper services in those hospitals.
Okay.
And so it's upon all the counties also to ensure that they invest properly in the hospitals, level 4, level 3, because most of these things we're dealing with in Nairobi will end up in those hospitals. So I believe the investments we are making in the health sector are worthwhile. Kenyans should see the benefits of the monies we are allocating to the health sector.
When President Donald Trump took office for his second term, he made so many changes, and a lot of those changes affected Kenya, which has been a beneficiary of US aid, for example. Now the government has allocated 18.5 billion shillings towards HIV programs. Do you think this is enough?
I don't think it's enough, but I think it's a good gesture and a good investment towards ensuring that we win ourselves of dependence on donor support on key areas. You know, we should depend on donor support in other areas, but not, for example, in the managing of malaria, managing of TB, managing of largely communicable diseases, and managing of HIV. These should be things that are matters of national security, existential. And so we should fund them from our budget. We should not seek to, I mean, malaria we know kills many people in this country. TB, HIV. Why should we leave it to the largesse of donors? Why shouldn't we put our own money? And that's why the 18 billion shillings may look small, but I believe that as time goes, we increase it so that we ensure you're putting money in areas where we don't threaten our national security if someone withdraws their donor support. I mean, what Trump did showed us that what happens if one day we wake up and say UN is not supporting this, UNICEF is not supporting that. We need to be sure that on areas that touch on the very health of the country, we are funding ourselves at a level of self-sufficiency.
COVID really pushed countries to the limit. Kenya was not an exemption, and now there is Ebola. There is a whole lot of politics going on. But do you think that it is important for Kenya to be conscious and prepare itself for an eventuality that Ebola gets here?
It's a very interesting question to ask in 21st century, especially in 2026. But this should be no-brainers. I believe that, for example, we have a hospital called Alupe in Busia.
Yes.
Alupe was set up before independence, and the mandate of Alupe was to help deal with communicable diseases, infectious diseases. And so Alupe by now should be running a state-of-the-art, because it's at the border. It's at the border between Malaba and Busia.
Yes.
And these are our two major border posts if you live in Namanga, with the movement of people from the rest of the world, the rest of the country. And so I believe we must keep investing in these areas. In fact, it's an aberration to hear that we are waiting for Americans to invest in our management of diseases like Ebola. We should be dealing with this locally, and it shouldn't matter whether they're American or Kenyan. We should be prepared for these eventualities. If COVID experience is anything to go by, we should invest in these things in a manner that when they happen, they're not a crisis. They shouldn't be a crisis. Ebola, in my opinion, shouldn't be a crisis because we've had Ebola before. Outbreaks of Ebola have happened before, and we shouldn't make it a crisis. Above all, we shouldn't make Americans or any foreign country to think that they're going to help us manage this kind of situation. These are areas that we can only collaborate on, but we cannot allow outside countries to take lead in some of these things.
And now to a point that probably is close home. Energy.
Yes.
There is the rural electrification program that is currently underway.
Yeah.
And a lot of money, I'm seeing 16.3 billion shillings has been set aside for rural electrification projects.
Yeah.
What is your assessment of the program? Is it to a level that you feel is necessary, or?
I think on rural electrification, we are not doing our best. If you walk into Nyanza today, you'll find villages where there are poles for electricity that have been lying there for 1 year. You know, they brought a pole here, they put 100 poles there, 200 poles there. For a whole year, they're just lying there, nothing is being done. So much as this money you're putting in there, the level of implementation enforcement of contracts, ensuring that people who have capacity are being given those contracts, is derailing this process. In fact, I must call upon the minister concerned. I must call upon the REREC CEO and his team. We are not doing well in that regard. Money is being allocated, but output on the ground is suboptimal. We must call to order those who have been called upon, because you can't be launching projects every single day. You bring polls, you bring polls, you bring polls. When the minister leaves, the following day the contractor also leaves. We must ensure that whether you launch a project, there's resources for it, and they do to the end. When you ask, you're told, oh, you know, you didn't have circuits, you didn't have conductors, we don't have conduits. You know, we can't have a situation where you are giving the country hope, and for a whole year nothing is going on.
Where do you think the gap is? Is it the funding or the generation of power? Because Nyanza, for example, is having serious connectivity issues. There's a lot of blackouts in Nyanza.
No, first of all, you must look at, my opinion, like I've told you, is one, we have so many contracts going on about connecting people through the last mile, but they're never completed. So complete that first. Then number two, and you've said this severally, we must improve the capacity. And that is why much as I hear people, you know, complaining, if we can build a safe nuclear plant in Siaya, in that part of the country, because you are right, the highest number of blackouts in the country are in Western Kenya. Yes. You know, and Western Kenya means Tanzania through Bungoma all the way to Migori. We have blackouts, any small drizzle, blackout, any small rain, blackout. And the blackouts go on for a long time. People cannot do business. You know, productivity goes down when power cannot be guaranteed. And that is why, over and above the last mile, we must ensure that the stability of the grid is guaranteed. We can't having power coming from Uganda through our region, and then we are the most unstable in terms of capacity to keep power running.
Ethiopia set the standard and the pace when it launched the dam.
Yes.
And I think for Kenya, perhaps, should we use that as a benchmark? And if we are to generate more power, aside from the nuclear plant that has been proposed for Siaya, what are other areas that we can venture into to boost our power production and supply?
The potential for geothermal power is quite big in the country today, and it's not being tapped even at 10%, in my opinion. Number two is allow for cheaper independent power production structure and systems that ensures that if someone is producing their own power, we can get into the grid at a cheap rate. You know, for example, that we've had that problem where Kenyan is producing power at 10 shillings. The IPPs are selling power to Kenya Power at 100 shillings. You know, so we must deal with independent power producers in a manner that promotes country's growth. We should promote more independent power production, get into the grid at rates that also help Kenyans to grow. Geothermal is a good area. Solar power is a good area. Just promote it and allow it to go into the grid.
Let's talk about the infrastructure fund. And I understand that JKIA is about to get a facelift at approximately 300 billion. How excited should Kenyans be? The last time the government tried to develop JKIA, there was a lot of upheaval.
First of all, personally, I must tell you that I need that airport to be done as soon as yesterday. Politics are out of it, corruption out of it. Just have a decent airport. You know, if you're a Kenyan, and let me tell you, I receive guests for parliament in our airport, and I travel also quite a lot. Our airport really is a shame. It's a big shame, I'm telling you. The thing you're calling JKIA here isn't an airport. It's some thing that was built, it looks like a cowshed. So we must support the revamping and a facelift for JKIA at whatever cost. We must have a new airport out there, because we are being outcompeted by Rwanda.
Yes.
We are being outcompeted by Ethiopia. You walk into Ethiopia today, land in Dar es Salaam, land in Zanzibar, then come and land at JKIA. It's a big, big shame. So a new airport we must have. We don't have a choice about it. We should just ensure that as we have them, Kenyans are comfortable about accountability. Kenyans feel that the money is, their money is getting, they're getting value for their money. Yeah. So we must ask the actors also ensure that as this happens, let Kenyans get value for money. But the airport for me is base. We must have a new airport. There's no two ways about it.
After the 2024 Gen Z demonstrations, there's always been this feeling that every time the government introduces amendments to the Finance Act, it's always about introducing new taxes. What is your assessment of this?
I think it's a suspicion born out of deficit of trust. And let me tell you, deficit in trust on government is not just in Kenya. Yeah. It's all over the world. People always think government want to take their money and, you know, it's going to end up in corruption and all this. But you know, countries that are self-respected and self-respecting grow their economies using their own resources. And that's why, for example, and you know, Ndugu, there are people who worked for 40 years in government and who are saving 20 shillings per month with NSSF. Now you go home, you can't even get 1,000 shillings a month as from NSSF. Yeah. So, for example, if we introduced an increase in NSSF savings, that is your money from 20 shillings. What can 20 shillings buy for you today? Okay? There are reforms that were long overdue. The reforms in NSSF were long overdue, so that even if you save 1,000 shillings, 2,000 shillings a month, when you retire, you go home with something serious. You know? Number two, we are doing a budget today. That budget has to be funded. Okay? We just need to ensure that as we fund our budget, we also leaving Kenyans with money in their pockets so that they're able to go about their duties and their activities every single day without feeling the government is taking away all the monies from their pockets. But Kenyans must also understand that when we borrow the way we are borrowing very highly from outside, then somehow our sovereignty as a country is undermined. So as a proud Kenyan, I believe that there are sacrifices that we must make to build our country. So much has been said about the finance bills, and finance bills have been there since 1963. It's not the first time we're having a finance bill, and I think we should give government the benefit of the doubt that we are doing the best in the circumstances and we want to grow our country, all of us.
So after this, focus will shift to Parliament, because I know that the Cabinet Secretary will bring a number of amendments to Parliament, and then also the revenue raising measures, which of course must be approved. What is going to happen between today and let's say December? Because after this there will be the next year there will be probably it will be called an election budget, I think so. What should Kenyans look forward to, especially you know, from Parliament?
No, Parliament, okay, you know, for example, next week we're going to pass appropriations bill.
Yes.
Then we'll have the finance bill coming after that.
Yes.
Personally, I want to look at this budget being implemented. Like I told you when we started, I've seen money in that budget for fisheries, for coffee, for tea, for agriculture generally, for production. I want this budget to be implemented. I want Kenyans to push the relevant you know, authorities concerned, the ministries, even Parliament. I want to see Parliament calling on PSAs and calling on the CEOs of hospitals to see the budget we've passed, how is it helping Kenyans? We can't just be budgeting and budgeting every day. Kenyans want to know, yes, we budgeted, we give you our taxes. What are you doing on water? What are you doing on agriculture? What are you doing for us on healthcare? Kenyans must be vigilant, and Parliament must also be vigilant on ensuring that the budget we've passed is being implemented to the benefit of Kenyans.
And Parliament, what has been set aside for?
Oh, Parliament.
For Parliament.
Parliament, I think mostly it's been the work of Parliament. The Parliament work we do every day, committee work, ensuring that the salaries are paid. And for example, when we came here in 2013, this Parliament was looking like a madhouse.
It is beautiful now.
Now you've seen the facelift that happened here.
Yeah.
I mean, someone would say, why are you investing in Parliament? But Parliament is our foremost house of diplomacy. When presidents come here, when visitors come here, and they find a Parliament that is not well kept, then how does that reflect on us? And so Parliament has been given resources to ensure that this place looks like a Parliament. Yes. Number two, taking care of the staff of Parliament, taking care of parliamentarians. It is a cost on democracy that you cannot begrudge. And I believe that resources have been given to Parliament. I think it's about 30 billion shillings. It will be used to make Parliament work more effective, make the public access Parliament more easily, and make our Parliament engage with the public also more easily.
One of the things that you can notice is the number of committees. 13th Parliament has more committees than the 12th Parliament.
Yeah.
And what many Kenyans don't understand is the role of these committees.
You know, these committees mostly are for oversight. They're mostly to ensure that Kenyans are getting value for money in the areas where we are putting the budgets. For example, we have introduced committees to help ensure that the CDF is being run effectively. Yes. Number two, in the past, we only had one PAC, one PAC. We had only one Public Accounts Committee.
Yes. With
more than 300 reports to look at every year. To the level where we had sometimes 5, 6, 7 years reports or backlog of reports. Now, the disaggregation of PAC into education, into water sector, has ensured that PAC reports are now coming out more frequently. The same for PIC, Public Investment Committee. So the committees that have been formed to make Parliament work easier, more effective, and quicker. For example, if you're going to give counties money based on the last audited reports, then we must have a capacity of Parliament to look at those reports. And so if only one committee is looking at those reports, and there are thousands of them, then you can be sure they're going to lag behind. And so the committees have been formed to make Parliament work easier, make Parliament work more effective, make Parliament work more faster. And above all, the Parliament now has 349 members. And you want to have members doing their work more effectively. If you put 30 members in a committee, how effective is that committee? If you have a board of 10 people, 11 people, but if you have a board of 30 people, then it becomes a shouting house.
What is your assessment of the relationship between, as we wind up, your assessment of the relationship between the legislature and the executive with the Kenya Kwanza administration as a context?
I think for me, I would say it's been so uncomfortably cozy. The Parliament this time has been too close to the executive, to a level that is comforting. I must say that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would wish for a more arm's length. It's too cozy for my comfort. Person as David Ochieng.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That is Uganda Member of Parliament David Ochieng giving us his insights into the highlights that is the budget 2026-2027, which will be presented before Parliament this afternoon. I'll have that. Thank you very much. And a lot of expectations.
Thank you.
Kenyans are expecting a lot from the Cabinet Secretary for Finance, who will be presenting that budget this afternoon, I think probably from 3 p.m. onwards. And just a quick highlight, education sector gets the lion's share of the budget, and that is at 781.4 billion shillings. Education remains the largest beneficiary of government funding. The key allocation